Okay, snuggle in tight. Let's travel back in time to a land filled with misty mountains and shimmering forests long, long ago. Tonight's story is about two very special people from this magical past. First, let me tell you about Borin Stonehand. Borin wasn't like the other dwarves you might imagine. Most dwarves loved digging deep for gold and mithril, their laughter echoing like rocks tumbling down a hill. They were sturdy and strong, often a bit grumpy, with magnificent beards braided with metal rings. Borin was sturdy and strong, too, with hands calloused from working stone. He had a kind, round face, eyes the color of warm chocolate, and a neatly trimmed beard. Yes, but instead of metal rings, he often tucked tiny, colorful mountain flowers into its braids. You see, Borin wasn't interested in hammering out swords or axes. He loved to carve beautiful things, delicate birds from wood, sturdy benches that looked like sleeping bears, and intricate patterns into the very walls of his cozy cave home. He was gentle, quiet, and his heart was as warm as the forge he used, not for weapons, but for shaping beautiful, peaceful things. He lived beneath the great gray peak mountain, in the Glimmering Caves, where colorful crystals lit the tunnels with a soft rainbow light. Now, let me tell you about Lyra Meadowlight. Lyra was an elf, living far from Borin's mountain in the heart of the Whisperingwood. This forest was ancient, with trees so tall their leaves seemed to brush the clouds. Sunlight filtered down in golden shafts, dancing on moss softer than velvet and streams that chuckled over smooth gray stones. Lyra was as graceful as a willow branch swaying in the breeze. She had long hair, the color of spun moonlight, and her eyes were the clear, bright green of new spring leaves. She moved silently, her feet barely disturbing the fallen leaves, and she knew the names of every bird, every flower, every hidden path in her vast green home. Lyra wasn't just beautiful. She was incredibly kind, wise, and her voice, when she sang the old elven songs, sounded like wind chimes made of silver. She loved music, starry nights, and the quiet wisdom of the ancient trees. Now our story begins. For many, many years, the dwarves under Grey Peak Mountain and the elves of Whisperingwood kept to themselves. They weren't enemies, not really, but they were different. Dwarves liked the solid, unchanging stone beneath their feet. Elves loved the rustling leaves and the ever-changing sky above. They thought they had nothing in common. But Borin, the gentle dwarf, sometimes climbed out of the Glimmering Caves. He didn't go far, just to the edge of the mountains, where the stone met the soil and wildflowers grew in bright patches. He loved watching the sunset paint the distant trees of Whisperingwood in shades of orange and purple. He imagined what life was like beneath those tall, leafy giants. One sunny afternoon, while Borin was carefully sketching a particularly bright blue mountain flower in his worn leather notebook, he heard a sound he'd never heard before. It was music, sweeter and clearer than any bird song, drifting on the breeze from the edge of the woods. Curious and forgetting his usual shyness, Borin followed the sound. He crept quietly, his sturdy boots making almost no noise on the soft earth. He was surprisingly light-footed for a dwarf. He peered through the ferns at the edge of the Whispering Wood and saw her. It was Lyra Meadowlight, sitting by a sparkling stream, weaving a garland of star-shaped white flowers. She was humming the tune he'd heard, a melody that seemed to make the very air shimmer. Borin's heart gave a great, gentle thump, like a drumbeat muffled by moss. He had never seen anyone so graceful, so filled with light. He stayed hidden, watching her nimble fingers work, listening to her soft humming, until the sun began to dip low, painting the sky pink. Then he slipped away, back towards his mountain home, his mind full of moonlight hair and leaf-green eyes. He couldn't forget her. Every afternoon he returned to the edge of the woods, hoping to catch another glimpse of Lyra, or just hear her humming drift on the wind. He started carving things inspired by her, a small wooden flute that looked like a curled fern, a jewelry box decorated with carved leaves and stars. One day, as he sat sketching near the woods, a shadow fell over his notebook. He looked up, startled, right into the kind, green eyes of Lyra Meadowlight. She had approached as silently as a deer. Borin scrambled to his feet, his face turning redder than a mountain berry. Hello," he stammered, clutching his notebook. Lyra smiled, a gentle expression that reached her eyes. "Hello, Master Dwarf," she said, her voice like soft bells. "I have seen you here before, watching the forest, and I have seen the beautiful things you leave behind, sometimes a perfectly carved stone bird, a flower etched onto a fallen log. You have gentle hands and a kind heart." Borin was amazed. She had noticed him, and she thought his work was beautiful. "Thank you, Lady Elf," he managed. "Your home, the Whisperingwood. It's very beautiful. And your singing," he trailed off, suddenly shy again. Lyra's smile widened. "And your home, the Glimmering Caves beneath Grey Peak. I have often wondered what beauty lies hidden in the heart of the stone." From that day on, Borin and Lyra started talking, carefully at first, like two shy creatures meeting at a watering hole. Borin would tell her about the glowing crystals in his caves, the deep silence of the stone, and the satisfaction of shaping something solid and lasting. Lyra would describe the changing seasons in the forest, the secret language of the birds, and the feel of moss growing on ancient bark. They discovered they both loved the beauty of the world, even though they found it in different places. Borin loved the steadfast strength of the mountains. Lyra loved the gentle dance of the leaves. He brought her perfectly smooth, colorful stones from deep within the earth. She brought him seeds of rare forest flowers and feathers shed by bright birds. Some of the other dwarves muttered when they saw Borin spending time near the woods. "Mixing with elves? That's not proper for a dwarf," they grumbled. And some of the elves raised their eyebrows elegantly when Lyra spoke of her new friend. A dwarf? What could you possibly have in common with one who delves in the dark earth? They whispered. But Borin and Lyra didn't listen. They knew what they shared was special. Borin showed Lyra the entrance to the Glimmering Caves, and her eyes widened in wonder at the sparkling crystal veins that lit the tunnels like trapped stars. She wasn't afraid of the dark stone. She saw the beauty Borin carved into it. Lyra led Borin into the Whisperingwood, showing him paths only she knew, leading to waterfalls hidden behind curtains of ivy and ancient trees whose bark felt like wrinkled velvet. Borin wasn't overwhelmed by the vast greenness. He felt the peace and life Lyra loved so much. Their friendship, built on kindness and seeing the good in each other despite their differences, slowly began to change things. A grumpy old dwarf saw the beautiful, smooth stone Lyra carried, a gift from Borin, and had to admit it was lovely. A proud elf heard Borin humming a tune Lyra had taught him, a simple, earthy melody, and found their foot tapping along. Borin and Lyra showed everyone that being different didn't mean you couldn't be friends. In fact, their differences made their friendship richer. Borin learned about patience from the slow-growing trees Lyra loved. Lyra learned about strength and endurance from the ancient mountains Borin called home. They remained the dearest of friends for all their long lives, a gentle dwarf with flower-braided beard and a wonderful elf with eyes like spring leaves. Their story was told for generations in the Glimmering Caves in the Whisperingwood, a reminder that true beauty lies in a kind heart. And the moral of this story, little one, is that you should always look past appearances and see the goodness inside someone's heart. It doesn't matter if someone looks different from you, or comes from a different place, or likes different things. Kindness, friendship, and understanding can build bridges between anyone, making the world a much more beautiful and interesting place. Just like Borin and Lyra found beauty in both stone and leaf, we can find friendship in the most unexpected places if we just open our hearts. Now, close your eyes and dream of shimmering caves and whispering woods. Good night.